Okay, so big bad Bish, I'm going to call you. Welcome into the building, mate.
Yeah, good to be here, mate. Really good to be here. Like that old brick wall setup you got in the background. Very
Yeah,
nice.
it's actually just drying still. I've just built that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, really good. Keep yourself busy.
Mate, thanks for spending some time with us today. Obviously, go through some stuff. I'm going to fire some questions at you. And obviously, hopefully you can drop some really good nuggets for the guys to work with.
Yeah, no worries.
But first of all, man, like the straight up question is why Strongman for you, and where did it all start?
Yeah, so Strongman for me actually started in the same town that you're based. It started in Loughborough. So, I was up at uni and played rugby up there and had a weekend off. And it was a case that I found out some guys were going to do some strongman training down the road in a dusty yard. And it's like I'd always watched World's Strongest Man as a kid. I think I first watched it in like 1998. Watched Magnus Samuelsson win. And it was something I really wanted to have a go at, and I just had a game cancelled, and had a free weekend, and went and gave it a go. A guy called Jason Talbot used to make all the kit, and he used to run kind of like a container session where you go just pay a couple of quid and then train on the kit. And yeah, I just took to it really, really naturally. And I was like 100 kilos at 6'3", so I was built like a lollipop stick. But yeah, things were like, especially the moving events like yokes and farmers was really good. And pressing took a little while to get going, but I think I was always interested, growing up in kind of the ultimate of everything, like obviously, the fastest man in the world, or the fittest, and for me, the strongest man is like an ultimate title. It's something that like no one can argue with. It's you are literally the strongest man on the planet. And that kind of was really, really appealing to me. So to get a chance to go down to this yard and train, it was all like homemade equipment. It was not like the people of sport now for choice with the equipment that goes in the gyms. Everything's made to a high standard, and you train in these plush gyms. But back then it was just a dusty yard. I think we did some farms in the snow once. We were lifting like bits of concrete that JT had just made. But he did make the best Atlas stones in the business, back in the day. He's since ceased making strongman kit, but yeah, his stuff is still well regarded. So
well, we've still got his now. I actually dropped his log from overhead the other day, and it was perfectly fine.
It's bomb proof, the stuff. Yeah, easy to fix as well if it does go wrong. But yeah, he's a good guy. JT he helped me out a lot when I kind of started out.
Yeah. Do you think training on that sort of like rusty old kit has made you stronger? Because technically it must have, hey?
I don't know about that. I just think it gave me a appreciation more of the equipment I've got now. But obviously a lot of the stuff we used was a little bit unbalanced sometimes, some of the implements we had. So probably kind of built a lot of all-round strength that way. But I think it was more of a case of guys I was training with back then, like there's a guy called Jay Pateman who was, a hell of a bench presser, a hell of a presser. His log press was fantastically strong. Wayne Smith used to go down there, these guys from the Midlands. And I was kind of like just looking up to them and trying to learn as much as I can. JT was Britain's strongest man under 105, I think in 2009, I think, or 2008 maybe. So I was, learning off him. And yeah, this is all in like 2010 when I kind of really started. And yeah, they put us in. And my first competition was an open competition. So there's no novice for me or anything like that. Like and now you sport for competitions with like first timer comps, novice 105s. All these options, and yeah, back then it just wasn't really there. So I tended to, went straight in the open event, which was really, really good. But obviously the guys I was going against were absolute beasts. So yeah, I think it just kind of pushed me on it. I could have pushed me on a lot quicker to train those guys. What was that?
You did a little bit 105s as well, though, didn't you? I think.
Yeah. So after that first comp, I then went into the 105 setup. I won. Midlands under 105. That was a comp that JT ran. I think it was in May, and we had it was like 30 degrees. It was like stupid hot, and we ran 6 events in like an hour and a half. That's how quick the comp was. So like people were like dying in the corner. Like Ben France, I don't know if you know him. He was like literally lying on the floor. But that was the first comp I ever won. And then from there, yeah, went to England's, qualified from England to go to UK's. I think I came 5th at the UK's that year in the 105s, and then for me, then that was it. I kind of stopped playing rugby after that and just focused on training for strongman as I got my degree. And the year later, won the UK 105s. And then, made the decision to move up to opens, That was quite a big decision for me, really, because, a lot of guys tend to stay in the 105 division. But for me, I'm 6'3". I was just too tall to be in the 105. So the guys I was competing with, there's guys who had like so much more muscle mass than me. And, I was always kind of holding myself back. And also with strongman, I feel like, this is not putting a damper on anyone who works in the lower class divisions, like especially you, mate. But it's like I felt like the strongest man under 105 was like an asterisk. It was like a little note. So strongest man under 105 or whatever. And for me, I wanted to be the strongest man in Britain.
I know where you're going.
The strongest man in the world. No ifs, no buts. It's the classic like pound for pound argument, which I'd still get put into now, or the ultimate strength. And for me, it's all about that ultimate strength kind of goal. And that was one of my decisions why I wanted to move up to the opens and just kind of chase those titles that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. The only reason I sort of say I won't agree is because I'm not doing it.
Yeah, but for me, like for a guy like yourself, some of the shorter guys, like like Flash, like he wouldn't be able to put on enough weight to be able to compete in some of the events, and that's what the weight classes. That's what I feel the lower weight divisions are for. They're for the guys who, through no fault of their own. I mean, it's an absolute beast in the lower weight classes, but some events require height, some events require a large amount of body weight, and some guys just don't have the frames to be able to put that on. So that's what those divisions are for.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so talk about competing and stuff. Are you the type of person that trains to compete, or do you compete to train?
Well, a little bit of both, really. I mean, if I wasn't competing in strongman, I don't actually think I'd probably do strongman training, but I'd still train. So, I'd still lift, whether it's, various different movements. Don't get me wrong, I probably would, still do the odd kind of strongman event, but I'm not one of these guys who, if I wasn't competing, I'd still do like log presses and crazy heavy deadlifts, etc. I probably just wouldn't do that, like heavy yokes, just because of the stress it puts on your body. So, I do train to compete, but obviously if I wasn't competing, I'd still do some form of training. It just wouldn't be.
And obviously it'd be suited more for what you're needing, isn't it?
Exactly that. Yeah, I don't understand why you'd put yourself through all the pain not to try and win something or compete. It'd be a bit bizarre.
But that's where I suppose the events come into play, isn't it? Like, you're strong all year round, but then your next comp's got whatever log, and you need to train the log, and you bring it back in, don't you?
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm going through now. We've got a period where we've not got any competitions. So, I can afford to drop out, some events, not push them that hard. I can drop the weights right back. I can focus on something else. I can focus on trying to push my body weight up through some more like classic bodybuilding movements. So, it's a fluid movement of bringing these movements in and out. And it all depends on what competition you got coming up.
Yeah. And you coach yourself, I think, don't you, still?
Yes, I'm still working at Harlequins. That's my day job. Obviously, at the moment, we're not in. But like on a my normal 9 to 5, if you like, is working with the rugby players up at Quins. I'm dealing with predominantly the forwards, so catering for 24 full-time athletes at the moment.
Yeah, and do you do a lot of strongman stuff with them, or is that going into?
No, I mean, I get asked that question a lot, and the simple answer is no. The closest they'll get is they'll do prowler sessions. That's the closest they'll get to strongman.
Yeah.
Maybe an arm over arm in the summer for some conditioning, but the reason I don't is just the injury risk. Strongman is an extreme sport. You can get hurt in it. A lot of movements, you're in compromised positions. You think of the position you're having to put your back in for a log press, and then stone lifting. It's not ideal. And for a group of guys who are paid to play and played well to play rugby, the risk of them getting injured is cost to the club. It's cost to them financially. And ultimately, if I was getting guys injured doing tire flips, then I wouldn't have a job for very long. So most of the work we do with the players is more kind of like gym based. It's more barbell based. It's lower risk movements. I mean, they still squat, they still deadlift. For for sure. They didn't definitely military press, my forwards and push press. But yeah, it's all more barbell work as opposed to the odd lifts like strongman.
Yeah, sweet, man. I suppose a lot of people think, I mean, I think you'll agree when I say this, that a lot of people say that strongman fits every sport in a way. And I think it does to an extent, but at the same time, like you say, for that specific reason, you have to be careful, don't you, of how much you push them guys for the strongman, because they don't need specific strongman.
Yeah, I mean, I have to remember that obviously, like strongman is a sport in itself, you
Yeah,
know, or entertainment, sports entertainment in itself. So, you know, it's the same with like using weightlifting. For your athletes, you might decide, right, I'm going to use a power clean, but what's the chances of you going to be doing full clean and jerks and full snatches with your athletes? Probably low because of the risk to reward and the amount of time it takes to coach it. And people kind of, you know, when you use strongman movements, you might use a bridged version of it, or a slightly kind of like dumbed down or diluted version of it, because obviously, yeah, strongman is in its own like a sports kind of entertainment or a sport itself. So yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Within like the strongman sport and stuff, what would you say is your favorite sort of lift? I think I know what it is, but
Well, I guess I'm probably most well known for my deadlifting.
yeah,
So deadlift for reps, especially, is something that I've kind of really made my own recently in most competitions. But in all honesty, you know, actually the event I enjoy training the most is log press. Even though it's probably one of my weaker events, you know, comparatively now, everything's just moved on so far. But it's one that I've always enjoyed training, you know, just because I enjoy trying to improve myself and get better. And I think log press is like it's very recognisable as a strongman sport.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a staple event.
It's pretty signature. So yeah, I probably enjoy training that the most. But yeah, my best lifting competition is definitely my deadlift.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that as well, though, because deadlift is what I was going to say, because it's definitely what I look up to you for sure. Other than your hairdo, but you know, like with saying that logs your sort of one of your favorite lifts as well. It's something that people tend to not do, isn't it? Like they don't pick that because they're not good at it, but it's interesting that you do.
I always say that, you know, when you're looking and people look online and they'll look for people to look up to in terms of certain lifts, and a lot of people I'll look exactly what, you know, like look exactly what Bish is doing for his deadlift. It's like, well, yeah, but I mean, my deadlift has always constantly been good. You probably want to look at a lift that I really like sucked at before, but I've actually improved. And they're the people to pay attention to, the people who have improved massively on lifts from, like, take Luke Stoltman's log, for example, you know, like he said that when he started doing strongman, he failed a 155 log in competition. And this is a Giants live show. He hadn't just started in strongman, he'd been in a couple of years. And now suddenly he's going to be going for the log press world record. So he has improved a huge amount on his log press. So he's a guy you want to be paying attention to and seeing what he's doing for a log press, for example. Even though he is now,
he literally said that to me the other day.
Yeah, he's just improved so much. He's something you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. As well, just on the note of him, he looks so natural with the log lift, doesn't he? So if you didn't look at his past couple of years and you just looked at him now, you'd think he's actually naturally always been good at it.
Yeah, but you look back and it's a different story.
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting. Okay, so what does a typical day look like for you then? When I say that, we're looking at like food, well, waking up, what time you wake up, food, when you train, what you do as like a mindset sort of routine, everything.
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of options here, because I'll give you a day where I'm solely focused on strongman and a day when I've obviously got work, just because obviously still full-time work, but I do have days off in the week. But so when I'm in work, you know, with Quins, I'll be kind of up about 6 a.m. I'll get straight into the office. I'll have breakfast in the office around kind of 6:30, 6:45. And then, you know, I've got meetings usually starting at 7. The players have got sessions starting at 8:30. That's where I'll be in. And then, you know,
you're always with them when they're training, yeah?
Always with them when they're training. So that first session at 8:30 will be a weight session usually.
Yeah.
On a usual day, that might be a weight session. And then, you know, I'm trying to squeeze meals in around this. So I've had my breakfast, and then after that weight session, I'll probably try and get a weight gainer shake, just so I'm still on the move. Then I'll be out on field setting up for the session in the afternoon. Go up, get some lunch, have lunch at the club, which is great. And then on field for a session, so I'm supporting the rugby staff as much as we can. We might have some conditioning bits for the guys. We might be looking, obviously with me working with the forwards, I'm looking at their scrum technique and their scrum positioning, and working very closely with Adam Jones on that. And then we'll finish up. We'll, have some meetings to do as well, and I'll probably leave the club probably about between 4 and 5. Get home, get another meal in. Sometimes I might have a nap, around like 5:30, 6, and then I'm in the gym then at 7 o'clock to do my training session. Obviously, I've got the home set up at the moment, which is great. So I'm training in the barn down at the bottom of my garden, so I can afford to have a nap and get in the gym at 7, and I'll do a good 2 hours training there. Get out there, have some food, and then around 10 o'clock I'll be in the hot tub. Do a good half hour in the hot tub, and then to bed about 10:30. So pretty busy day. And obviously that's kind of I'd say probably the bare essentials of everything on that. Obviously I've got all my work to do, and that's kind of what I'll have on my plate. It differs massively from when I'm not working. So to give you a feel of a normal day for me when I'm not working, I'll kind of get up a little bit later, probably more like 8 a.m. Sit down straight away, have breakfast. I'll go for a walk, usually between 30 to 45-minute walk. Then I'll get back, eat again, do a mobility session. So I tend to have a little stretch for about 30 minutes. And then relax, and have another meal, and then train. I'll usually train about 3 o'clock on a day off. Which is a lot different from the evening session, which is quite welcome sometimes. And then I'll finish that session, and effectively got a lot more time to do my recovery work. So once I finish that weight session, I'll play around with some red light therapy. I'll use the recovery pumps, so the myo pumps, which I like to use my legs. Some guys might have seen them on my Instagram, just to aid that blood flow back to the heart. Get my food in, still do my hot tub stuff in the evening, and then I've got a little bit more time to chill. So all the bit of not going into work, I've just got more time to train, eat, and do my extra recovery work that I probably don't have on a usual work day.
Yeah, and obviously your time is spent around that, isn't it? When do you get time off, or when do you get time to see your missus, or?
We don't, me and Amy, we don't actually see each other much at all. So Amy works for KPMG. She's a consultant. So she'll either be away or in different meetings and stuff. And what she also does, she competes in Ironmans. She's done multiple marathons. She actually holds a world record for the fastest marathon run by a female in a Santa suit. Pretty niche, but we're about collecting world records in this household. So between us, we don't actually see each other that much. But I think it's good because we've both got our own things to be getting on with. But not a lot of time to chill out really. We're just kind of always on the go. Yeah,
I notice you mention your hot tub a lot as well. Do you do any cold recovery?
So I'll do some actual chamber work once a week as well. So on one of my days off, I'll head across to a place in Kent called Cryotherapy, which is a cold chamber, cryotherapy chamber, which is at minus 85 degrees. And I'll spend kind of 5 minutes in there and kind of get back out from that. And I just do that on my rest days. Personally, I'm looking to improve blood flow a lot. So a lot of the stuff you see with the guys doing contrast is aimed at increasing blood flow. For me, I just found it more comfortable, and I get a better benefit for my sleep if I do just warm in the evenings post-training. I don't want that ice directly post-training to reduce inflammation or anything like that, because I want the inflammation post-training. That's what I'm kind of big on. I want to get that big kind of spike in stress and inflammation and lactic acid, etc., all those kind of different metabolic processes to then stimulate my adaptation down the line. So I don't want to dampen that straight away. but I will then do some work in the cryo chamber, like, you know, probably 24 hours post a heavy session. But yeah, you know, no ice bath at the moment. I've done plenty of those, and we do have one at the club, and I'll use that if I can't get across the chamber. But at the moment, I'm enjoying using the chamber a little bit more.
And it's cold.
It is cold, mate. Yeah, but I always think if you haven't tried it, definitely go and find something to try and do it, because it's a different type of cold. With like a cold water immersion at like 10 degrees, it feels really cold. I guess because obviously you're in the water, it's conducting heat away from you. Whereas the chamber is a lot colder, like minus 85, but it's not really like there's no proper like moisture in there, so it's it's such a big shock to the system. Only in there for 5 minutes, a lot more manageable.
I don't know if you've ever seen the Wim Hof theory. Have you ever heard of him?
No,
He's an Icelandic guy. Story is that his wife died, and he tried to think of something to manage it and take his mind off her. And he ended up doing cold showers. He actually just jumped in the lake one day, just randomly.
Yeah. And it sounds Icelandic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you imagine that over there. He like couldn't catch his breath for 10 minutes. He then slowly caught his breath. Then he did it every day for like however long. And now his theory is that whole like go in the shower, freezing cold. You've got to build up to it, obviously, but he says it's just so good for recovery, this, that, and the other, but also for your mind to actually say that I've achieved this.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he's pretty crazy, but the theory is there behind it.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Okay, so who do you look up to in the strongman game? Now, I find this really interesting because I like the fact that, you know, as much as you're a top athlete yourself, you're Britain's strongest man, as we know. You know, like you still look up to other people, don't you? And I think it's really nice to sort of see that for different reasons.
I think I look up to different guys for different reasons as well. So, like, there's a couple kind of spring to mind from the strongman world now. Is like, for example, I look up to Brian Shaw just in terms of, you know, how committed he is to training and thinking about every single thing. He's meticulous in his planning. So he'll want to find out the events. He'll get the equipment set up. He'll get his things as close to possible to competition as he can. You know, to competition rules as he can. And for me, that kind of level of professionalism is a big game changer in our industry.
Yeah,
I think he did change the game in terms of being really professional about his training. Another guy I'd probably look up to just for sheer willpower and determination is probably Eddie. You know, Eddie is another guy who changed the game, like redefined what we thought was possible. I think kind of whatever Eddie did, he was going to be successful, but not necessarily because of the big lifts he did and what have you in his strength, but just through his commitment to the game and you know what he kind of looked to achieve and build that legacy that he's done so well at. So he's a great guy to look at in terms of, you know, just being 100% committed. And then the final one I look to is in recent years is kind of Big Z, for no other reason than the longevity he's had in the sport. You know, the way he's committed to all these competitions, the number of competitions he's done a year is obscene. And the fact that he, you know, survived all those competitions, still trying to get out there and compete is amazing and be successful.
I don't think he gets into much either, does he?
He didn't used to, and then they started to kind of creep in with once the Arnold got like crazy heavy. I think they tried to get the guys to like a 720 kilo yoke or something. That'll get you. But you know, so for me, like looking to Big Z, it's like how consistent he's been over the years, especially at World's Strongest Man and the Arnold. And that's probably why he gets the title of kind of like the greatest of all time, the greatest strongman of all time, really. It's just because how many first and second place finishes he had at Worlds, how many Arnold championships he got, you know, how many times he competed, not even at those big competitions, you know, he'd be competing all year and still winning most shows. So yeah, I think he's a good one to look to, and you're looking at kind of how to build a legacy within the sport over a prolonged period.
Yeah, 100%. I think, to be fair, most people have said them three as well.
Yeah, I mean they are the big three, and I think they've changed the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I kind of grew up watching Marius. You know, throughout the noughties, he was the man, and you have to respect the fact he got those 5 titles. And you know what? In terms of Marius, actually, the performance that really stood out for me there was two performances really. 2007, he came back and absolutely blew the field away. After losing it in 2006 to Phil Pfister, he went away and trained like the fingers all year. And I think he won the final with an event to spare, which is unheard of. And then I actually think I was kind of most blown away by the performance in 2009, when Big Z came back. Everyone had written him off. They said, he can't keep up. Obviously, they made the events heavier at Worlds, and he still managed to come a very, very close second to Z. I think that performance kind of showed that he could, he could be really strong, statically strong, if he had to train for it. Obviously, he spent most of his time training to be lighter and more conditioned. So I don't think you can. He was the perfect tool for World's Strongest Man as it was back then. He did show in that performance in 2009 that if he wanted to be, he could be brutally strong as well.
I think it's just changed now, hasn't it? So much from there to now.
It's mental. Like the changes that have gone on in terms of like the log press record. I think I watched a video on Facebook the other day of Raymond Bergmanis equaling the log press, or the World's Strongest Man log press record of like 190, and that was in 2002. And now we're talking about guys trying to get 230, and we're doing like 180. We're doing 180 for reps, like in competitions now. It's obscene how things have moved on. But that's because it's entertainment. There's more people watching. There's people want to see these shocking things. That's what it is. It's a freak show, Strongman. So that's why we're given these like impossible tasks to try and work out. Agree.
Well, talk about freak shows. How do you get ready for your freak show? When you're training, have you got a song that you, I don't know, your go-to song that when you're doing a PR or something like that?
No, I haven't really got a go-to song. I mean, I sometimes I train in silence. Like I'll train with no music at all. I find it quite a good tool to get yourself probably focused on a lift. But most of the time, most people heard I'll be playing some heavy metal in there. Usually Metallica, some of the old stuff. But yeah, no proper set song that I kind of go to. Things have changed. I used to do that, but now it's just kind of just background noise. As long as it's loud and heavy, I find it kind of it simulates the crowd noise as well quite well. So
yeah. I've actually got, if you look back on my Instagram, I've actually got all my PRs, you'll notice, are the same song.
Really?
I have a go-to song that I go to every single time.
Oh, what's that then?
I haven't done it yet. It's Chasing Status.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Cool, man. So last sort of thing then that I want you to add to the mix is, what sort of advice would you give to a younger aspiring athlete, if you like, any sort of level, but just something that you could give solid advice that will take them further?
I think personally, you set your goals, but you take your time. I think that's really, really important, especially anyone who wants to compete at World's Strongest Man. Too many people get into this sport and they put a load of pressure on themselves. I'm going to get that title. Just to give you an idea, when I started in 2010, I put a goal of competing at World's Strongest Man by 2015. So, 5-year plan. So that's not trying to change the world too quickly. That's just to compete at Worlds. And that's something I did. And then, once I competed at Worlds, my next target was to make the final at Worlds. And it took me another 4 years to do that,
Well, you 2014 debut Worlds, was it?
2015, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So my first Giants Live was in 2014.
Right.
Back end of the year. 2015 is when I did my first World's Strongest Man. And then the goal then was to make the final, and that didn't happen. Had a couple of close calls. That didn't happen until 2019. And obviously the goal throughout this whole period was to win Britain's Strongest Man, and that didn't happen until this year, 2020. So spoiler alert for everyone. I think my point is, 10 years, effectively 10 years in the making to win Britain's Strongest Man. It didn't happen overnight. You have to take your time with it. You set goals that are achievable, but you kind of just keep getting a little bit better every single year, and that's how you stay in this sport for a long, long time, as opposed to coming in trying to lift everything straight away, putting on a load of weight straight away, and kind of doing more damage to yourself than good. And I think that's hugely important, because here's another example. I mean, the last competition I won in the open class, by before Britain's was in 2013.
Right. Okay.
That was the last competition I actually physically won before I won Britain's in 2020. Just because, you know, obviously I challenged myself, moved up to the Opens, and everything's such more competitive. There's less titles, there's less competitions to do. I didn't go looking for kind of lower level titles just to get a trophy. I kind of focused on that one, and that was my one and only goal, was to get that kind of Britain's Strongest Man title.
Yeah.
So you know, I didn't have a load of trophies going up on the wall for various wins. I was just after one, and I think that's also massively important as to where you're going to focus your resources. You know, like once you've got that goal, work 100% towards it. Don't kind of backtrack and just go, oh, it's not really working at the moment, so I'll do something else.
Yeah, I think it's probably nice for you to hear as well. But from me looking at you, obviously, because I know you personally as well, I've seen you sort of like, you know, as you've gone through. What you've just said is actually exactly how you've gone as well, isn't it? In a nice way, like you've gone slowly up as opposed to try to jump. I mean, am I right to say 3, 2, and 1 you've hit on Britain's? Was it?
Well, technically, yeah. I mean, 2018, I was joint third with Terry, but Terry got it on countback, which was the Stones that year.
Right.
So technically, I was 4th. We're on the same points, and then
Right.
2019 I came second, then 2020 I got first. Yeah. So just climbing that ladder slowly.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see. I was there to watch you as well, so it was an amazing performance, my man.
Yeah.
Well, mate, thank you very, very much for your thoughts and nuggets for today.
No worries. Good to speak to you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they've all took, you know, plenty away for the guys who watch this. You know, I'm always trying to build my sort of guys, and that's why I want to reach out to the top people in the game to sort of like support people's thoughts and stuff. So I really appreciate it. But mate, thank you very much, and I will let you crack on with your day, and I'll catch you very soon.
No worries. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, my man.